I'm Brian Wilson, alongside Larry O'Connor.
Now, as the national debate continues over the Syrian refugees entering this country, and we just heard from Representative Barbara Comstock and the fact that the House will vote on this a little later today, Arlington County has had their voice heard on this issue, and they say that they have expressed their interest in serving as a receiving community for these refugees. Joining us right now is the Arlington County Board Chair, Mary Hynes. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Hynes.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So, can I ask you, in what way are you serving the best interests of the people of Arlington County by raising your hand and volunteering to have the Syrian refugees housed there?
You know, we have a real long tradition here of welcoming refugees. It stretches all the way back to the fall of Saigon. Mm-hmm. And in our borders, we have more than 100 languages spoken. So we have people here who've been through the experience, as well as a lot of experience as a local government at helping once all the vetting and the placement decisions are made by the federal government and those beyond us.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up, because the question was, how does your policy serve the citizens of Arlington County? I know how you're helping the Syrian refugees. How are you serving your constituents by welcoming the refugees?
Well, I think that our constituents actually agree with us that this is a value in Arlington, that part of Arlington's strength has come all these years from our diversity, and that welcoming new people continues to strengthen our community.
Okay.
All right, diversity and bringing new people and having compassion, I think everybody agrees those are good things. In this particular case, the concern, and by the way, a lot of Democrats on Capitol Hill today apparently are going to vote with the House on this measure. The concern is that these refugees may not all be refugees, that there may be some bad guys mixed into them. And that's what we saw apparently in France, that some of the refugees turned out to be, in fact, terrorists. So if that happens, and somebody, goes off and does something bad, are you going to be responsible then for having brought these people to Arlington County? Are you willing to stand behind that decision if there is an attack?
I think that there is so much random violence these days in our world. Look at the shooters who arise in our country, in our community. Not in Arlington, but in Virginia, we've certainly had our share of these. I don't think that means we stop being a compassionate community, and I think that the vetting that's being done on these folks is quite thorough. I also believe that the whole experience in France shows us that these were not refugees; these were people who've grown up in the community. So I do not believe we're putting our community more at risk by being willing to accept people who are fleeing war.
Can I just ask you, the FBI director, James Comey, last month testified in Congress under oath and said that if the people aren't already in their database and they can cross-check their references and their documents against people they're currently monitoring, then there's no possible way to fully vet them. Now, you just said that there is a full vetting process. So what do you know about this that the FBI director does not know?
Well, obviously, I don't know anything that the FBI director doesn't know. But we do believe this comports with our values, with our national values, and that we should not be afraid.
Well, I mean, you say that you are acting in the tradition of the community.
Yes, we are.
But I mean, in this particular case, like Larry just said, the FBI director has said, we don't know how to vet these people thoroughly. It's entirely possible that if they've never done anything before now that came up on our radar, that they can slip into the country and that there is no way we can certify that they actually are not terrorists. So how can you say to the people of Arlington County that the system is sufficient to meet those needs?
Gentlemen, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this. Okay. This is not how our community rolls. We actually do believe that people who are fleeing war should have safe places to go, yes. And we are willing to be part of that system.
That's fair. Listen, Ms. Hynes, Mary Hynes is our guest. She's the chair of the Arlington County Board. We are all about agreeing to disagree, and not in a disagreeable way, by the way. Can I ask you this, based on your county, your board's position here? Have you set a number? How many refugees do you want in Arlington County? Is it 1,000?
We don't control that whole set of decisions. It's run through Catholic Charities, which is the resettlement agency for our region. In the past, we've had, numbers have been placed in the community, but it's never been more than we've been able to manage over the last 40 years. So there's no.
But you must have an
idea.
idea. You must have an idea of how many. I mean, you just said not more than we can manage. So how many can you manage?
Gentlemen, I don't have a number.
Okay. Well, I would just think that's relevant, because as we move forward in this discussion.
We're talking about a process that's going to take us an amount of time, I'm sure. And so it will, as it evolves, housing here is not plentiful, and so it will work its way through.
And one last question. I mean, if people in Arlington have heard you speak here and say, that really is not in keeping and it's not something I really want, when you hear from those people, would you be willing to consider this position?
Which position?
Your position of inviting the refugees into Arlington County. Would you be willing to reconsider if you heard from a sizable number of your constituents?
I think that we have spoken based on our values. It's a joint statement of all 5 board members. Certainly, if we hear from our constituents that they have concerns, we'll talk about that. But I have a lot of sense that Arlington is going to be where the board is.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us.
Always good to have you. We hope to have this conversation again on other issues as well.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
That's Mary Hynes. She's the chair of the Arlington County Board.